Welcome to the Prodigal Souls faith-based mental health and fitness ministry podcast, where our goal is to provide resources to the local community to help promote suicide and substance abuse prevention. I'm your host, Ford Henley. In today's podcast, we will revisit last week's Soul Fuel Saturday speaker, Jeff McDonald of Impact Thermal Coast. Let's listen in now. I apologize for any audio issues.
Most of y'all kind of know my background. You haven't really had a chance to meet me. But, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama originally. Grew up in a home where my parents divorced at 3 years old. Wound up living with my mother. So I was getting ready to go into 7th grade. From age 3 to that time, I grew up in a home with a mother that was addicted to narcotic drugs, painkillers, and so those years were very interesting for me. Kind of helped me see a lot of what I didn't want in my life in the future. Drug abuse can have a tremendous impact on an individual and those around them. A lot of collateral damage, and me and my brother, my younger brother, unfortunately, were the collateral damage. In and out of a few foster homes during those years, children's homes actually. When I say foster homes, they were actually friends of family, friends of mine. 5th grade, for instance, I wound up moving in for half a school year with a friend of mine in my 5th grade class. His family took me in because I had already missed almost enough days to fail me for 5th grade. My mother just couldn't get me to school. She was just not well. And so the mental health aspect I've experienced, my mother suffered from depression. That's what led her to her drug addiction, and it was something that unfortunately she could never really overcome. I moved here when I was in 7th grade, went to Pryor Middle School right across the street, and it was a neat opportunity for me because when I lived in Birmingham, Alabama, I was always the token white kid in the low rental income neighborhoods because we were very poor. And at school and where I lived in Birmingham, Alabama, if you were a white kid living in a predominantly black neighborhood, they had all kind of creative names for you and got picked on a regular basis. I wore the same clothes to school most every day. People would notice that and decided that they would make it known to everyone else. So I went through a lot during those years. Moving here, I lived with my father, who was, a part of my life before I came here, maybe a week or two out of the year, because I would visit him every now and then. My father did I won't say his best, but did enough to kind of make sure I had some of the things I needed, although he wasn't with me. But, my father and other family members knew the circumstances I was growing up in, but never did anything to get me out of that. The only way I got out of it was I was here visiting during the summer before 7th grade. My grandmother calls my dad from Birmingham, Alabama, and says his mother's back in the hospital. She tried to overdose. He needs to stay there with you. So that's how I became a Floridian. And so moving here with my dad, my dad was just a neat guy. He was very much about Jerry McDonald at that time. I was here and it was a better life for me because at least I knew that when I left school in the morning, I had, a decent set of clothes to wear. Maybe I wouldn't get made fun of. I knew that when I went home in the afternoon that there was going to be a roof over my head. My dad was a very hardworking individual, sold cars here in the community for many years. And prior to becoming a Floridian, home was not always guaranteed. I could come home and we were getting kicked out of low rental income housing. Like, how do you do that, right? But we found a way. Bills didn't get paid. I'd come home from school and our furniture would be in the parking lot. And just all sorts of warm fuzzies as a child, right? But, all during that time, though, I could point back and I can look and see where God was protecting me and keeping me safe to an extent to where I could get here and I could have a little bit more of a firmer foundation, if you will. So just having that security, knowing that I had clothes on my back, a roof over my head, and food in my belly meant everything. So I was able to kind of recreate my life a little bit. Went through middle school and high school over there at Choctaw. Really helped to continue to shape who I was as an individual. In high school, I became a Christian at age 16. I went to a Fellowship of Christian Athletes meeting and stepped into a relationship with God at a meeting one night, and changed my life in a big way. So really, I'll skip over a whole lot of stuff, okay, just to get us here, and why I started Impact Emerald Coast. I mentioned that I was a youth minister for 12 years. Y'all know that very well. Here in the local community. And then something happened in my life back around 2010, 2011. It was time to transition out of that role. And I was left wondering, what now? I was stepping out of a career that I was comfortable with. I did very well, and that I enjoyed. There were challenges, like I mentioned before, but the benefits far outweighed the challenges, and that I was involved on a daily basis, loving and caring for students. Whether that was hanging out at Choctaw with the football or basketball team, or just students in general, or if that was them coming to the church to hang out in our youth room and play video games and feed them some pizza, something like that. So I loved every minute of that, the interaction I had with the students. So when I left that, it broke my heart. And going back into the business world, I'm now a mortgage loan originator with Prime Lending here in Shalimar. I struggled kind of finding my way because I missed the involvement with students. I missed having an impact. I still had little things that I did. I was the chaplain for Choctaw's football team, and I supported some other groups in the community, but I needed more. And so one day, I'm sitting in the living room going through Facebook, and I see that a young lady that I went to high school with at Choctaw's little boy was diagnosed with neuroblastoma. And he was under 10 years of age. He was, I want to say 7, 8 years old. And it was terminal. But I looked at that and I thought, looked at my wife, what could we do to make a difference? How could we help them? Because I couldn't imagine what it's like having to live with the truth and knowledge that your child will eventually no longer be walking, living, and breathing on this earth. And I thought, how could we do something as a community, starting with the McDonald family, that could maybe just give them a day where we take the burden off of them a little bit. So we came up with an idea to start an event called Hoops for Hope, because I thought, what could I do that could help raise some money to help this family pay some medical bills and just give them an opportunity to see the community's behind them. So we did it, Hoops for Hope. Very first one was across the street, Choctaw High School. It's just a basketball game that featured alumni like me who played basketball at Choctaw and guys much better than me from Choctaw and Fort Walton Beach. And we had an event. It was an alumni game. We promoted the heck out of it. People from all over Fort Walton Beach and the local area would come, and we filled up half the gym the first year, which I was pleased with. We raised about $9,000. The next time we would do it, we would raise $12,000. And our numbers grew. We filled the gym up like a traditional Choctaw Fort Walton Beach basketball game. It was almost standing room only. And we were able to help a local family that had a young man that was battling lymphoma, who was a Boys and Girls Club kid, and someone that we love very dearly. And he's doing better today, but it was just an opportunity that we couldn't pass up to start making a difference again in this community. And so with that, we thought there's probably more that we could do, right? And so we came up with other ideas, and we started an event called Kids with Confidence. Kids with Confidence is where we take 20 children from a local elementary school, and we partner them up with 20 young people from one of our local high schools. Last year, we started our very first one at Kenwood Elementary. We asked the staff to get together with some of their student council and target, or look for 20 children in the school from kindergarten to 5th grade that they knew had a great need. And they needed a little bit of a boost. They needed to know that someone loves them, that someone cares about them, that they are not going unrecognized. And obviously these children have needs because they're wearing the same clothes every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very familiar with that and the impact that that can have on your mental health as a child. You begin to feel like you're nothing. And I wanted to take those children and buy them some clothes. So we did that. We went to Nike off of money that was donated. We had every student donated at a level of $150. And we went and we bought them with great discounts from our friends at Nike in Sandestin. We got 3 outfits for every kid, and we got each kid a brand new pair of tennis shoes. And it was amazing. We spent a day with them. We had local students, the high school kids, hanging out and mentoring these little guys and girls. And we took them to a salon and a barbershop. We got their hair all fixed up and cleaned up. We even had one kid that wanted a mohawk, and his parents said it was okay. So he got a barbershop quality faux hawk, if you will. It was awesome. And so we fed them, took them to play, and it had a tremendous impact not only on those kids but on the young people from Choctaw High School from the leadership program. And that's our goal really as Impact Emerald Coast, is that.
That was a great talk by Jeff. Apologize that it was cut a little short. The audio file disk filled up unexpectedly. You can learn more about what Jeff does at impactemeraldcoast.com. You can also donate, purchase any of their stuff, and learn more about what they do to impact youth in our community. As always, thank you for listening to our podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, and review our podcast. You can learn more about what we do at Prodigal Souls by visiting prodigalsouls.com. You can also help support our ministry by purchasing something through our web store or contributing on our website under the Give tab. We hope you have a good week, and we will see you again.